Good evening and welcome, everybody. As you know, I'm Dan Winter, fractalfield.com, FractalU.com, and we're here for another party. I mean, cosmic conversation, FractalU, and tonight's amazing guest, who's really had a lifetime on this, Patrick Botte from Belgium, who, as you know, is the programmer for all, about 6 of our biofeedback apps, iThrive.com and realheartcoherence.com. Tonight is about FlameinMind.com, the real brainwave story, and it's going to be fun. So this is going to be a 2-minute intro to Patrick's presentation. So Patrick's presentation, as you know, Patrick and I have been working on biofeedback apps for a long time, and I had a few bright ideas, but Patrick had the discipline to be the programmer, which is the hard part, definitely, Patrick. Anywho, we had what was called the Bliss Tuner, and that became FlameinMind.com. And I would like to suggest a very practical way to think about the importance of brainwave measures. And this is just a suggestion of way to begin tonight's conversation about measuring brainwaves and why it's valuable. So remember that we have concluded, we believe very strongly that we know what the physics of consciousness is. It is not a mystery. Consciousness is very specifically a plasma vortex, like the inside of one of Tufan's donuts. It's a plasma vortex that forms inside your head. And when that vortex of plasma comes to a point, literally a foci, that compression effect sets up what is literally an eyeball, because that is the twinkle of where conjugation implodes and sets up that, what I call impedance matching, that connection to the longitudinal array. So literally, vision is the moment when you can get a handle on that squeezing superfluid vortex and bring it to a point. So normally, for example, when you do something to get more grounded, or if you go into therapy, for example, your vision will sharpen slightly. And we know why, because your vision sharpens slightly every time your body implodes a little better. For example, if you walk barefoot in the dirt, your vision sharpens because that ground actually allows you to electrically implode. Whereas if you wear synthetic clothes and inhabit electrosmog, your vision gets blurry because you can't implode the charge as well. So now, when the kids are learning to see without their eyes and even see their ancestors and have bliss, the trick is what's happening inside your head to enable, for example, the children to see without their eyes is they say, I see a plasma vortex, a tube, literally a dot of light, form inside my head. And if, and this is the big if they can get their quote unquote fingers around the vortex to squeeze it and bring the plasma vortex to a point, then suddenly they move their head, they press on there, they press here, then suddenly vision, literally a tube, a vortex, an eyeball, forms at the center of that tornado. This is a beautiful description of a physics of consciousness, because now for the first time, physics of consciousness can talk about how you can take consciousness outside your head. Has anyone ever explained that before? No, but it's literally a plasma tornado that you take with you. And the skill to get your fingers around that vortex and squeeze it, that is the brainwave harmonics. And those fingers are literally Tufan's Star Mother kit in this sense. You know, when Patrick first observed the kids seeing without their eyes, he clearly saw that they were making a ladder in their brainwaves from alpha around 8 to gamma 40. And that ladder, the rungs on that ladder are a cascade of golden ratio harmonics and octave harmonics. And what you have in here is golden ratio and octaves. So the shadow on the wall of the cave that we measure as golden ratio in brainwaves is literally inside your head. You're forming a tensor equilibrium, a net of fireflies, an array of imploding tensors, a shape that looks like this, in order that you can get your hands around that vortex and squeeze it. So the inner muscle it takes to create focus, you're blindfolded, the kids are seeing without their eyes. The inner muscle it takes to create focus is those brainwave harmonics, because that's what enables you to squeeze and get a handle on the tornado. And that's what consciousness is made of. So the skill to learn and teach people to make these beautiful harmonic cascades in their brainwaves is so powerful. It's how you bliss and trance and remote viewing and seeing without your eyes and all the cool, and how you get a big enough aura to lucid dream and get immortal. It's all, you know, when Jean-Charles Moyen bilocated, it was the same golden ratio to octave cascades and brainwaves. So that's the key to all psychokinesis, in effect, is that inner muscle it takes to squeeze the tornado. And that skill, those fingers of that squeezing on that plasma vortex is your brainwave harmonics. And when by building those inner muscles, obviously it starts with being able to make alpha, you're literally getting the skill to implode or squeeze charge. And that is the definition of all creativity, the ability to compress charge. That's what turns energy into mass. And that's literally the only possible physics of all creation. So when Steiner said, you know, the kids have to learn the inner muscle to imagine, imag, the skill to have the inner muscle to imagine inside your head, close your eyes, make a rose picture inside your head in order to, the room fills with the smell of roses in the Steiner school. So that those inner muscles to create is literally the ability to squeeze well. And that's what you make with those brainwave harmonics. Anyway, so that's a sense of context for why we need to teach our young people how to make these magic brainwaves. And this is really Patrick's kind of lifetime of experience. Okay, well, that was my 2-minute, 2 cents intro of enthusiasm to Patrick's prepared presentation now on FlameinMind.com and brainwave harmonics and biofeedback and heart-brain entrainment. Patrick Botte, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dan. The main point of this presentation is a little bit linked to a lot of mail that I'm receiving. And the big question is, can I get bliss if I use FlameinMind? And in fact, I will try to share as far as I can my experience while using brainwave and trying also to get this famous stairway to heaven, which we have inside the body. And so I will try to summarize a little bit what I have understood and also share a lot of information that I have access to recently. Just to start, that everybody will know exactly what are the brain waves. There are 5 different kinds of brain waves. The normal state is beta, which is in blue here, and also sometimes gamma. This is the normal wake state. And then you have the famous alpha stage, which is between 7 and 13 hertz, and which is linked to relaxation, but also which is used in hypnosis. The first stage of hypnosis, you access to alpha. And then you have
the famous Schumann link as well, perhaps.
Also, yeah, but we will see that later. Yeah, and in fact, there is also on the lower frequency of the brainwave between 4 and 7, there are theta. And theta is just between wakefulness and sleep. So you're no longer awake, but you're not yet asleep. And you will be able in this state to make the communication with your subconscious. And again, in hypnosis, it is used for real regression. So in the alpha state, you're a little bit the observer, but when you go to theta, you can live what you're doing during the hypnosis. And then you have the lower frequency.
We could say that theta healing is so famous, they call it theta healing, but they don't usually measure. Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah. And so you have delta. Delta is mainly related to sleep, but also regeneration. And if you don't have a beautiful delta during your sleep, you will have some difficulties in remembering things. Maybe something which is interesting also to mention is that we have 5 different kinds of brain waves, but cats and dogs have only alpha and theta brainwave, so the lower frequencies. and not a higher frequency as we have.
Very interesting.
Well, the app can help you to display different type of graph. You can zoom, you can select if you want to display only a part of the brainwave display. You can also, which is related to Dan work, this is what Dan asked me at the beginning when I designed the app, is to find and to display the golden ratio and the octave ratio related to the alpha peak. So all this stuff is, you see here, the fear ratio, are in blue, and the octave ratio are in pink.
And the alpha peak there is at about 7 hertz. So all the ratios with respect to the frequency of the alpha. So you start with the alpha as the baseline, and then the multiples tells you if you've made the stairway to heaven. Sorry.
Yeah. So in fact, it seems that we have 3 levels of consciousness. The first one is the perceptual awareness, which is related to our 5 senses, which is the state that we live the whole day. And then if you try to change something, if you want to access to a different state, you can have access to a kind of channel state. And this channel state is what is happening inside us. So it's completely different, because we have access to a new kind of reality, but inside ourselves, and not connected to all the things which are outside our body. And there is a third state, which is called the flow. And the flow is an amazing state, because you have to be completely active. So you're not meditating here. You're perfectly in the present. And it seems for you, when you're in this state, that you're completely out of time and out of space. I will explain you more later in the presentation. And then maybe this information should help you to understand a little bit the different step. Dan explained that you have to go in the different part of the spectrum to jump to another. And I have recently got this beautiful information, which are coming from a French coach, which is coaching a lot of champion sport, while using ancestral knowledge. And this is the thing that I will share you now, and also using hypnosis. And he's getting gold medals. So really, it's really incredible what is he doing. And so, in fact, what we have different kind of bodies, and these bodies, which are outside our physical bodies, are also linked to the chakra. The first plane, which they call level 7 in the ancestral knowledge, and you will see that all the levels are number related to 7. It's like octave. Well, this is how this ancestral knowledge is taught. And the first level is related to an alignment of the chakra, and also about your physical health. And then we go to the second plane, which is linked to the emotion. And in this plane, I'm associated with what I'm doing. So for myself, I'm a therapist, I'm an Apple developer, I'm the developer of FlameinMind. This is also completely linked to my ego. And then we go to the next step, which is the mental plane, level 21. And here I start to quit a little bit my ego. And now I'm not anymore the developer of the app, but I'm Patrick. And at this plane, we can start to use a little bit telepathy, to receive premonition, have a look at synchronicity. And this is the first level where you see the alpha is coming. When you are in the two first plane, you're in the ego, you're in your belief, you're in duality, and the main brainwaves are beta and sometimes gamma when we are very excited. And from the mental plane, you start making some alpha. The next plane is called the causal plane, and it's linked to the heart chakra. And then you start a little bit theta. And what's very interesting in this plane is that you can start to have access to the Akashic archives, like Leonardo DiCaprio, like Tesla. They were making a lot of meditation, and so they were connected to the big memory of the universe, and that's the reason why they made so incredible stuff. When Leonardo da Vinci was painting helicopters, he should have had this access somewhere.
He was tuned in.
Yeah. And so, well, this is a little bit summary of what I explained. So when you're in plane 28, plane 4, level 28, what they call level 28, related to heart chakra and the causal level, you have some kind of dissolution of time and space, and everything starts to become possible. We are no longer in duality, no longer in our mind, no longer in our emotion, and no longer in our thoughts. So we have access to this archives, Akashic archives, and so we can receive answers on our past. We can choose why we choose our family for our incarnation, and also you can start to have access to the different possible futures. And when you go to the next level, which is plane 5, then you can start to purify also your karma. And the next level, which is level 77, plane 6, you are in the level of accomplishment. You're in the I am. And in fact, the level 49, well, maybe you can explain with the hand. If you have your hand and your fingers are the different possible existence, and the junction between your fingers, when you are there, you are in level 49, and then you are still the observer. So you can have information about the different fingers which are related to your different possible realities, but you just observed. And when you reach level 77, then you can really experience the different realities, and then you become, instead of being the observer, you become really the architect of your life. So it's a big stairway to heaven, but I think it was important to explain a little bit that there are different steps, and you have to go step by step but it's nice because we have a lot of different possibilities that can help you to do it.
It makes sense also that as your brainwave cascade coheres further, we use the language, we become embedded in a larger longitudinal array, and that array is what's been called the collective unconscious, for example, and we think it's compressional or longitudinal. So the electrical engineering can fit what is obviously a very ancient metaphor that Patrick is referring to, ancestral teachings here. So the larger being bodies would relate to a broader spectrum of coherence in the brainwaves because you're embedding in bigger arrays.
There's a question regarding the earlier slide with the layers. Elena asks, do animals also have all these same layers and chakras, in your opinion?
I don't know. I really don't know. But what really upset me, because I discovered while I was making the presentation, is that the dogs and cats have only 2 kinds of brainwaves.
Yeah,
and so I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really don't know. It should be interesting to make some research.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah,
right.
Just to explain, and we will go step by step during the presentation. It will be easier for understanding. But you see, on the left, this is a recording of an half an hour meditation for somebody which is achieving the plane free, so the mental plane. So you see, in green, alpha is increasing to some kind of plateau, okay? And this is the spectrum here, the spectrum, the average spectrum of the half an hour recording. And you see you have a beautiful alpha peak here around 8 Hertz. This is somebody else, which is on the other plane, which is on plane 4. And you see it's completely different. The shape that we have here in beta, which is not appearing at all in the plane 3, but in plane 4, you see there is alpha peak, but there is also some kind of rounded shape here with, incredibly, this peak is about 32, 33 Hertz. And when we take the octave ratio and phi ratio, starting from Schumann frequency, we get the result of 32.
Oh. So that's golden ratio and octave cascade.
Yes, you will see that. You will see that
Right.
there will be a lot of surprise in the following slides.
That's cool. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So now, to help people, because there are a lot of questions and I cannot answer to every question, there are 2 marvelous books from Anna Wise.
Yeah.
And she made a lot, but unfortunately it's a long time ago with old device analyzing brainwaves. And she made a lot of experiment with monk, with healers, with priest, and she made a beautiful summary of all her results with this kind of shape, like we have here. And she said that the awakened mind has this shape. So you have a beautiful peak in alpha, but you have also some kind of rounded shape in the higher frequency of beta. And what's very interesting also in this book is that she's giving the result, but also she explained how you can practice, a lot of key to practice. And it's very, very interesting books.
I love that slide so much. Could you just go back for that 1 second, Patrick? Yeah. So just to say that my first introduction to Bliss brainwave analysis was when in Boulder we played with Cade's there. It was called the Mind Mirror, and that's where we had the idea for the way in which we display the harmonics in FlameinMind, for example, or Bliss Tuner. But the real point for me was the right-hand top picture labeled Awakened Mind was her idea of really a bliss meditation kind of thing. And
yeah.
She didn't say it, but in fact, if you look and were to calculate the ratio between that theta peak, the alpha peak, and the beta peak is a golden ratio cascade. So in fact, she was saying that that geometry was bliss, but she didn't measure it, but it's in fact a golden ratio cascade, which later actually Korotkov proved by measurement. So that's what gave us the first idea of first how to do that beautiful right-left display, and also evidence that golden ratio cascades are the key. So that was a great excitement for me when I discovered Cade, and that was in Boulder. Yeah, sorry, Patrick, but that was a real memory for me. Thank you.
We will see more in the next slide. And yeah.
Thank you.
So this is another way to explain a drawing, because it's a beautiful drawing, but the scale is not correspondent to the number of frequency which are in each band. So this is, we can see in our recording, you see the peak in alpha, and then this round shape we have in beta also, beta and delta. Another way to display it, you see, with the 4 different colors. I think it's easy.
Oh, that drawing is nice. Yes, you can see the relationship to what we're getting with the FlameinMind, right?
Yeah, because the scale of the different band is not correct. It's a beautiful drawing, which is
but you didn't
much
get this.
easy to understand. But if we compare to a real scale, it's not easy to understand.
Because she didn't even know that perfect ratio was the point. It never occurred to her.
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
So again, to answer to the question, how can I get bliss? It's in fact, it's some kind of big job. It's not accessed by pressing a button, even if it's a FlameinMind button, and you will need a lot of work and practice. So you can use these two books to help you. There is also Iris, which is teaching blind vision, and she's explaining also a lot of practice that can help you to go step by step to the next level. And also Raymond, I think then you have published a lot of video about Iris and also Raymond. So
yeah, Iris and Raymond's, the link's at FlameinMind.com/outervision, which is Patrick's word. And there you have Iris and Raymond's program for teaching young people to see without their eyes, and Raymond's in New Zealand, Iris is in Amsterdam, and it's an amazing resource.
Before going to the high level, let's say like this, you have first to think to align your chakra, and also in a way to get rid of your emotion. And there are a lot of things that you can use, or you can be aware of and take care of, because regarding the alignment of the chakra, what is very important is the torsion field of your body, because your torsion field should be in the direction according to the DNA rotation. And because of EMF pollution, the pollution of your environment, TV are also sometimes sending very bad waves, Wi-Fi, 5G. You will find some movies which make you turn in the opposite way. Some music also, I will show you some LED lights. Be careful of the food that you're eating, and some kind of food supplements, which are, if there are chemicals, your torsion field will be inverted again.
Can you say briefly what you mean by torsion field? Summarize.
Well, in fact, your DNA is turning in one way.
An antiomorphism is handedness.
So your body, you can measure in kinesiology your body. You can ask Stefan. Stefan Cardinaux is making a lot of tests with this also. There are also Russian device you can buy to make a correction in the torsion field of your house. They cancel the Wi-Fi if you put this device, and in kinesiology you can feel this torsion field, and you can also test when you're buying some food somewhere or some wine. You just take it with kinesiology, and you can see if it's turning on the good way or on the right way. So if there are chemicals inside, you will turn on the opposite way.
It could be confusing because, torsion field was the Russian name for a scalar field, which we now think we mean longitudinal. But in the kinesiology sense here, torsion can also mean the handedness or the direction, or when the body's torsioned, it's like pulled in one direction or another. So it's a term that could be a bit confusing, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So some little practice that can be very easy to use is to make the connection between the two brains into alternate tapping, using the eight symbol or infinity symbol. Yes. You can make a lot of different meditation, and of course the link with nature. So a few meditation can be done while using flaming sound. Binaural sound, but also flaming sound driving the plasma balls, and for the emotions, it's nice to to have also meditation. You can use hypnosis, EMDR, link with nature, of course, art coherence, earthing. It's nice. Just walk on the grass, as Dan was explaining, take a shower, or even wash your hand in your bathroom, because the water coming from your bathroom is directly connected to the ground. So, and also what is displayed here, there is a special kind of breathing, which is called the celestial breathing, which is very nice to make a circulation of the energy inside the body, which is very, very nice too. So just to give you some examples of the trouble that you can have if your chakra are not aligned. So this is a GDV picture, and you see in gray are the chakra, but related to the physical part of the body, and in colors there are the chakra, but regarding the emotional part of the body. And normally they should be all aligned. And you see that this is the two pictures of the same person with the GDV. The top three pictures are the physical part. So the aura is filled everywhere. But when you see the lower picture, it's the emotional aura. And you see there are missing frequency, missing emission almost everywhere. And so this is an example of a 3-day session of Gestalt therapy. So it's a therapy to work with emotions. And this top left graph here is the person when she arrived the first evening. And you see completely, well, the physical part was almost aligned, but you see the balls, colored balls regarding to the emotional part was completely exploded. The second display here on the top right is the next morning after meditation. You see that it's almost, everything is almost come back. And then we start playing with emotion. And just after, that's the result. So you see, we played a little bit with the emotions, and then again, a little bit exploded. And this is after a new meditation. And the last one is the third day, when the person leave the session and go back home. So you see, it's almost everything is almost cleared. Another thing that I was talking about junk food, to be careful about junk food. This is my blood here on the left after 3 days of junk food. So it was Christmas last year, and I spent 3 days for the Christmas, one with my kids, one with the kid of my partner, and one with the rest of the family. And you see that all the red blood cells are completely packed. And this is what I should normally have. And I have also made a lot of tests with different persons, and in fact, while using the plasma ball and the beautiful cascade of Dan, we can go from the left to the right in let's say 30 minutes.
That's plasmafire.com as an example. And
so I was talking about the LED also. I had a very big surprise a few days ago, so I decided to share it. LEDs normally are working with DC current. And so normally there should not be any EMF pollution. And I was making my electronic device, and then I made a movement with the probe, and the probe went to the LED ramp. And you will see on the scope here what's happening. It's completely crazy. You see. No, normally you should have. You should not have this high frequency. Look at the very high frequency which is inside.
And that's from the LED.
That's from the LED. And so now I will connect them with the battery, and you see nothing is happening.
Oh, see, that's why Patrick is using batteries to power plasmafire,
Yes,
for
yes.
example.
To get rid of it's incredible the pollution that we have in the.
Yeah, the amount of
even,
noise.
With a transformer, normally the transformer is changing to DC current. It's not.
Yeah.
It's completely crazy. So you have to be, and I remember that we already had this kind of trouble with economic light when we were in England with Jan and trying to use a finger sensor for eye drive. And when the light was on, it was impossible. So strong EMF pollution that we cannot measure anything with eye drive.
So a lot of the new energy efficient lights are the problem.
Yeah. A book, unfortunately, in French, which I really recommend when you want to know the different frequency which are inside the body. It's a book from Stéphane Cardinaux and Catherine Martin. And what is very, very interesting is, and it is the reason why we are using this kind of frequency map of the body in FlameinSound to drive the cascade, to enter in resonance with a different part of the body, that it fits exactly the frequency of Dan equation for the different chakra.
Yeah. Remember that FlameinSound is the software driving indirectly Therify and Quantify and Plasmafire and 5 Vibes and 2 new devices that are coming out soon.
Yeah. So let's talk now a little bit about FlameinMind. So you have two websites, the FlameinMind.com from Dan, and also cranio-sacral-app.com. This is my website. And there are 3 main parts of the app. So the middle low button is to make the connection with the different sensor. You have analyzer part, which will display the graph and the analysis of the brain waves. And you have also a sound wave generator, which is a lower right button. And in the app, we will have a part regarding the brainwave, another part regarding life force, another part which is an EKG emotional balance. And also you have for free a direct access to FlameinSound. So let's start with the emotional balance. In fact, you can make an EKG by placing your finger in a specific way on the muse sensor. And then you will have also the heart coherence and emotional balance, but only available for 1 person. If you want it for 2 persons to make an empathy trainer, then you have to buy the amplifier and have a direct access through FlameinSound.
Which is realheartcoherence.com.
Yes, yeah. The second part is life force. And there are 2 ways to use it. So you can place the Muse headset inside of a room, close to a tree in the middle of the field, or you can also measure what's happening inside your body by taking two back part of the Muse sensor, like it is here, shown here. And what's amazing, and you will see that it will come through the whole presentation, is that when you are using this option and you're measuring different things, here you see there are cows here in a field, and I'm 3-4 meters away from the group of cows, and I'm measuring what I was receiving in the headset, and you see there are big peaks which are appearing. Dan made the same kind of experiment with a tree close to his place, and again the same kind of peaks are coming. And as I mentioned before, you take 8 you got 42. With octave, if you take phi, you got 32, and then again phi, 52. So you have 52 here, 52 here, 32, 22. So we have the same thing almost everywhere. So it was an experiment which was done by Jan Schlosser in a special dome that he had built, and again 53, 32, 22.
So this is kind of an extension of the Schumann harmonics, except Patrick has actually identified why you have that 50 hertz peak, that there's a two, because you have both golden ratio and octave. So you can tell which tree is alive and dead and which is sacred. It's a real life force measure, and it applies to sacred buildings.
Yeah. Again, the same thing in Visoko Sun Pyramid. And inside the tunnels also, we get the same thing. And as I mentioned before, again, the 33 hertz, which is for the person which is meditating in plane 4, you see? So we have, again, this 33 hertz, which is coming. Now, another option in the brainwave, well, it's real brainwave, and there are two possibilities. You can use two channels, so the two back sensor, the back brain, or you can use a 4-channel option, and then you have back brain and front brain. And this is used to measure the flow, because the flow is to measure the ratio between the back brain and the front brain.
More specifically, as I learned from Patrick, that what's called the flow from the sports literature, in the flow means very fast response time, literally instinctive. And so obviously the back brain has to be dominant to be in the flow and have fast response time, because that's literally the top of the reptilian brain stem where you have instinctive quick response. If you had to depend on the front brain, it takes too long. So you have to be back brain dominant to be in the flow, and that's measurable.
Thank you, Dan.
I learned that from you, Patrick.
But it's nice to help me also.
Yeah,
because
and then you provided a beautiful way to measure that. It's good.
Yeah. Okay, so the flow, well, it's somewhere you need a little bit stress, but not too much. So it's some kind of equilibrium between a level of stress and a level of activity of performance. And it's amazing because we have measured this, and a lot of searchers have made a lot of measurements with, you can see in these two pictures, musicians which are playing, also people walking on a wire, or also when you're walking on fire. It's you have to be active and completely present of what you are doing. If you're walking on a fire and you're not completely present of what you're doing, you burn your feet. And it's crazy because I was looking for an old picture while I was walking on a fire, and I found this one. It's amazing because there is a big orb in the top of my head.
Wow, that's beautiful. Patrick, should we just answer just a couple of quick questions here? Is that okay,
Yes,
Patrick?
sure.
Okay, so one was, could you explain again how you made the measurements with the cows, trees, pyramids, and tunnels? The very short answer is the Muse headset, the carbonized rubber of the earpiece, which measures the rear brain EEG, is functionally a microvolt antenna. So you moisten them slightly sometimes, but you put that at the bottom of a tree, for example, and then use the same spectrum analyze that you use for brainwave, and you can see whether that tree is getting the Schumann harmonics and therefore whether it's healthy. So, or for example, to measure the difference between a bamboo building and a poison building, the Muse headset itself is the preamplifier. And then by using our software, you can spectrum analyze where life force is and where it is not. It's a technique I learned from Callahan that Patrick implemented beautifully.
This is on the left, a normal way of thinking, which is the front brain, which is highlighted here. And when you're in the flow, only the back part of the brain is highlighted, is working. So,
which you can measure by blood flow in other ways.
yeah. And so to make a summary of what is the flow, it's a state in which you're very well active. So it's completely different for a meditating state. It's the ability to perform a movement or an activity with ease, but also, and it's very important, with pleasure.
Think of yourself playing tennis. If you had to super hyper analyze every move, you'd never get there. You just have to relax, and then it's very instinctive, and that's the flow. It's very common known in the sports literature.
And so you have to move because it's related to the origin of the brain, which was to control the movement. It should be a challenge. So to walk on a wire 10 meters above, it's a challenge. So you have to have a little bit stress, but again, a great pleasure to do it. And so it will induce very slow wave only on the back part of the brain, and also increase the interaction between your left and right brain. And to make the link to what I explained in the beginning, so it should be at level 4, so about the heart chakra, with some kind of dissolution of space and time, and no longer in emotion, because no longer in thoughts. If you're in 10 meters above the ground on a small Y and you think, where have I put my keys, you fall. So you're completely in the present moment.
And even when we say dissolution of space and time, it's more accurate to say that all time is present as you embed in a larger array. So that a larger array means more spin rotations are embedded, and that's what time is.
Okay, so there are different things that could be displayed on the app screen, the relationship between the different brain waves, but also you have a big eye here, which the more the eye will be open, the more you will be in the flow. So in black here in the middle, it's the front brain, and in white, it's the back brain. So the goal is to have the lower front wave and the bigger back waves.
On the Muse headset, the electrodes on the forehead are measuring the front brain, and then the rubber over your ears is measuring the back brain.
Well, another way to use the app is also to use, you can use, of course, the Muse headset, but you can also get your HRV with a Polar strap, Polar H7, and now I don't think it's anymore available, but it's H10. And H10, it's nice because you can go swimming with it. And so you will have the brainwave on the top and your HRV on the lower part of the screen. What could be interesting also is to, if you are using the binaural sound, which are available on the lower right button, this sound will be displayed on the same display as the HRV, and it's in pink here. And you see there are a beat which is created, and you can see the movement of the sound from the left and right ears. And you can see sometimes that there is an entertainment between the beat, so the movement from left and right brain, and which is inducing, which is synchronizes with the HRV.
And you can see the HRV is effectively the breath wave as well.
Yes, yes. What you can do also while making a recording is to use markers. And so when you select this button, 3 markers will appear on the screen, and during the recording you can touch the screen and say, oh, now I feel I'm making alpha, for example, and no, oh no, I'm losing alpha. You touch another button, and then when you play it back, you can have the different markers which will appear on your recording. Now, the latest updates that we have made with FlameinMind is something that I was dreaming for a long time. It's to to make the relationship between the brainwave and the heart. In fact, I was a long time ago working with sacrocranial wave, and there were proof that the sacrocranial wave was related to a variation of pressure, of blood pressure, and which is also called the Mayo wave. And that's what I have done with the iDrive app. And it was a new way to measure coherence, because I have noticed that sometimes you have a beautiful HRV amplitude, but the pressure wave is not in phase with the electric wave of the heart. And so when you're really in phase with the pressure wave is in phase with the electrical wave, you're really in a beautiful coherent state. I was looking to find the same thing between the heart and the brain.
So we call that power factor, when your blood pressure peak is in phase with the voltage peak, and which is actually literally power factor. And that then is the infrasound link of the brain to the heart. Sorry, Patrick, go ahead.
And that's what you explained a lot of time with Bentoff and Dan.
Yes.
That when you have the blood pressure coming out of the heart and it's going down to the aorta, when it arrives at the bifurcation between the two legs, there is some kind of wall.
A bounce.
And then,
bounce. It bounces. Yes.
Yeah. And then the wave is going, part of the wave is going back. And at a certain frequency, you will have, like it is displayed here, you will have a standing wave. And this standing wave will enter in resonance with the brain ventricles. And these brain ventricles are just very close to pleasure center also. That probably is the reason why when you're in a beautiful lucid dreaming state, you feel very fine. And so I was trying to achieve it. And finally, I found a way, and that's what is shown here. You have HRV in red, you have the infra brainwave in white, and in pink, it's, well, the analysis of HRV, but it fits exactly the HRV. And you will see that, you see, there is a beautiful relationship between the HRV here in red and the brain infra wave, which is in white. You see there
the beauty and power of that is fabulous. We get to play with. Basically, Patrick figured a way to get the low frequencies out of the brainwave data, and then he could compare that to the low frequencies of heart rate variability, which is the spine liquid pump. Remember, that's the motor of Kundalini. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, and you see, well, also you can have the two spectra. In red, the HRV spectrum, in white, the brain spectrum, and you see the peak. The correspondence of the peak is almost perfect.
So if your girlfriend says, if you could just get your brain hooked to your heart, you could practice.
Yeah, and this is a small video that is on my iTunes channel, and it's very interesting because I could achieve, well, a normal 0.1 Hertz breath, let's say like this, so the work surfing on the sacrocranial wave, and then have access to the yogi breath, and you will see that it seems to completely make the same relationship. So this is the sacrocranial wave on the HRV, so it's about 4 or 5 times per minute. And you see the peaks in HRV and the brain are very close.
It's just to say that 0.1 Hertz Mayer wave, if you realize that's about 6 per minute, and that's the famous 10-second breathing, that's all in phase between heart and head. That's the point. Yeah,
you have a perfect phase between the heart and the brain. And now here, you will see I will start a yogi breath of two breaths per minute. You see, this is 1 minute, so you see the HRV is going up and down 2 times, so it's a breath of 2 times per minute.
Very slow.
Yeah, very slow. And you see again, you have a beautiful relationship between the brainwave and HRV.
See how that
And-
moved? The white peak and the red peak moved left dramatically together.
Yeah.
So the breath steered that embedding of the heart brain. That's why the yogi says, if you control your breathing.
And
That's
then
beautiful.
I go back to again to the
0.1 hertz.
to the 0.1 hertz.
Yeah, the Mayer wave. See now again, the red and white peak moved right again to around 5 or 6, which is the Mayer wave, 6 per minute, 10 second. So that the breath controlled all of that. That's the power, and you can see that happening with that infrasound link. That's gorgeous, Patrick. Sorry.
So maybe something which I should explain also about the app, that there are two options. You can make, well, a playback of the recording, but you can also make asks for some kind of analyzing. So instead of playing back with the playback buttons, you can ask, give me an analysis or export to Excel, to an Excel file. And it's only possible with the 2-channel recording, so the back brain. And when you have a look on the different icons on the files, the 2 channels recording are white and the other 4-channel recording are gray. And so you can have a display. If you select the analysis, you will have a lot of display of what's happening during the whole session. And if you export to CSV file, Excel file, then you can make your own graph. So, well, these are the different, you can slide from one display to another. There are different, this kind of display and analysis. This is interesting because it shows you during the whole session, where were the alpha peaks. So you see here, the alpha peaks are mainly around 8, but I will show you more examples. And this is what I've shown already before, but it's the evolution of the different band waves during succession. And again, if you want, you can add some markers to say, well, I feel that now my alpha are increasing, or so with the 3 buttons, and as I explained. So there is also an option to, if you're taking the HRV, you can also have the display of HRV and the spectrum, and you can select an export to Excel file, and then you will have some kind of graph. And in this kind of graph, you can compare to before and after a meditating session, for example, and then you have two different kind of graphic, and you can see the different relationship between the band before and after. Well, now I will give you more examples of the recording that I have made. And this is one of the beautiful recording I've done with kids, which can see without their eyes, with Iris School. And what's amazing is that when they start to see without their eyes, they got a very strange kind of brain waves which looks like a Christmas tree. And what's interesting is that, again, when you have all the time octave and phi ratio, which are present, you see, all the time, you have something which is appearing. This is the alpha, and then you make the golden and phi ratio, and you have all the time this kind of correspondence here between what the relationship between octave and phase at the same part of the brainwave.
The blue lines are golden ratio to the alpha, and the pink lines are octave to the alpha.
This is, I can show you the recording that I have done. You will see. So here, these are the brainwave which we don't ask her anything, you see, and I have to reduce size the amplification of the brainwave. Otherwise, it's when they make the connection, it goes out of the screen. So now she's just waiting, and then we will ask her to open the channel and looks what's happening.
Then the little vortex tube opens inside her head, and you see the brainwave become coherent. She's focused.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, that cascade is exactly how Jean-Charles Moyen actually did before.
Yeah, we will see. Then, well, just to show you also how they are working. So she is playing, the little girl is playing, and well, I'm accelerated, but you will see she takes all the piece of wood from back, and you see in the back there are different colors, but she only takes the good colors. She didn't make any mistake, and you see that she's playing for a couple of minutes, and
she's blindfolded, but she can see the color.
Completely blindfold, yes.
Yeah, but she's in that state.
Yeah, yeah.
It's cool.
This is Jean-Charles. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a recording that he has done, and
it was the same cascade, octave and golden ratio, but much higher amplitudes.
Yeah, again, I had to reduce completely the amplification of the display, otherwise he will go out of the screen. And again, when he makes a connection, you see that now it's coming, and it's increasing.
There, see that alpha?
See that it's alpha. It's amazing.
Off the charts, really strong.
Yeah.
And you remember, he literally bilocated with witnesses. He turns inside out. One eye sees where he was, the other eye sees where he's going. I mean, he literally goes through the vortex. It's the same principle. It's literally implosion in brainwaves. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And again, you see the relationship between the alpha peak in green here and phi and octave ratio. You see again that there is something happening when the phi and golden ratio are very close.
He made the same vortex, but much higher amplitude in his brainwave coherence. So it was like literally a Stargate.
Yeah, yeah. You see the free example, always the same thing, the same.
I'll put the link in here. It's FlameinMind.com/lucidbrain, where you have all that study we did with him.
So this is his recording, yeah? And we will see that, in fact, the example that I've shown you where there was a relationship between the alpha and Schumann, and here is on another level, but I will show you more in well, this is the recording, and well, again, the recording we have done with Jean-Charles, and again, you see the two peaks here, beautiful relationship between his HRV and the brainwave.
Very low frequency.
Yeah. And so I have a chance, since a couple of months, I'm working in a center, and we are making a lot of meditation. It's also possible for me to make blood test, GDV pictures, but what is very interesting that we are making a lot of different meditation, and we are measuring lucid dreams. And so we have every week we change. So sometimes there are meditation with Tibetan balls, sometimes it's shamanic meditation. We are making meditation with binaural sound, also with the plasma ball, all driven with the Flaming Sound app. And I will share you a few of the results that we got. Well, here it's a recording of a therapist which is making a cranio-sacral healing session, and you see there are, just after he starts, there are a lot of alpha around the Schumann frequency coming, and this is binaural sound according to the frequency of Dan, which is 7.2 hertz, and the subject was not grounded. And you see there is a lot of alpha peaks which are coming here, but they're all, it's a cloud. So they're everywhere, they're coming everywhere. And if I take the same subject, but I ask him to ground before, you see, most of the alpha peaks are coming in the Schumann frequency.
Beautiful. Importance of grounding.
This is a shamanic meditation, and it's a little bit interesting because you see there is a peak which is appearing here in the beta, about 22, 23, and also, and you see the alpha are increasing through the whole session, but also the beta. So this person have some kind of vision, otherwise he would not have any beta, but there is no gamma. But beta are increasing, and this is the peak we have here in 23, 22. And what is very interesting is the shape of the heart, because we have a very big VLF peak in 1 cycle per minute, which is the rhythm of the emptiness of the brain ventricles. And so it's amazing because you see really the heart is following this kind of pumping. It's very strange. Never showed this before.
The draining of the ventricle liquids is a profound conversation that Patrick might lead another time, but it's related to Bento's work on that.
Yeah.
It's like the de-stressing and the 0 point.
Yeah. So this is, I already showed it before. This is the first stage of meditating state. So it's only making alpha around 8 Hertz. And but he already have a small shape coming, you see in the beta. And what is amazing again, while we have the close relationship between phi ratio and octave ratio, there is something happening again, and also some kind of relationship between the peak and the octave and phi ratio. And this is the person that I already show you before, which have access to the next level with this 32 peak in the spectrum. And you see that it's completely different. You see the beta are increasing, but also the gamma are increasing during the whole session. And again, we have the beautiful relationship between phi ratio and octave ratio.
So that's a real climax.
Yeah, and it's crazy because this is a recording of half an hour. I will do it very rapidly, but you will see that she keeps the state during the half an hour. She doesn't quit it. You see, it's always there.
The alpha, you see, the alpha is a baseline, and it's relatively consistent.
But it's completely crazy. And so again, and this is what is very interesting, and I just discovered it while I was preparing the conference, that if we take what I explained with the life force, so the peak of 53, 32, 22, so you see we have, if we have the Schumann frequency for the alpha, which is the case of these 3 examples, the level, the first level of meditation with alpha, and then the next level with this 33 peak here between beta and gamma, and also in between this example. But again, we have a peak here, which is in 22. So we have exactly these 3 peaks which are appearing in a different state of meditating state.
And the one on the right was from a life force measure compared to a brainwave measure.
Yes, it was life force. Well, this one, yes, it was the one from Jan Schlosser, but it was the same for the trees, it was the same for the cows. These 3 peaks are coming all the times.
A very living building is blissful, literally.
And so if we compare the 3 different recordings that I have done with different persons, you see the first one here, there's a little increase in beta, nothing in gamma. The next step with the peak and at 22, we have a higher increase in beta, a little increase in gamma. And then when we have this kind of shape, we have a big increase in gamma and big increase in beta. And so now I have had the result from Jean-Charles. And you see, Jean-Charles, it's not exactly the same. Instead of having an alpha peak of 7.8 or 8 Hertz, he has the peak at 13. And it is the frontier between alpha and beta. And then he has also something in 33. And probably also in 2021, 22 here. So it's amazing, because what we are discovering is that the thing that we have measured with the life force, we also find this peak in the brainwave.
The way a tree is blissful or the way a temple is sacred is the same geometry electrically.
Again, when I took most of the recording of the kit, we can see without their eyes, even if the phi ratio and octave ratio do not fit 53, we have a big peak also at 53. And we have the same thing with this recording that I have done about the shamanic meditation, again in 53.
Which is what we found in the Bosnian pyramids and in my living room. That 50.
Yeah, it's completely crazy.
We wondered why. And which turns out to be golden ratio to Planck, perfect 50.
Yeah, but I never made the relationship before between what we were measuring with the life force and also what we had found is very special brainwaves.
And that 50 hertz is the most common frequency mentioned in all the cancer healing science studies, actually. So, Patrick, I think your presentation was really particularly wonderful, and particularly since you at least intuitive, you suggested, there is some answer to the question of the person saying, can I get bliss with this? So hopefully this evening you learned a little bit more about the measurement of bliss process. And as we all say, a biofeedback device like FlameinMind, can we make you have bliss? No, but for sure we can measure when you succeed, and that can help you get there. And there are many ways, especially the bliss binaural sound. Many people say that bliss binaural sound alone in Flamin Sound, remember, it's very cheap, is the most powerful bliss induction they've ever had. So that in itself is a wonderful start. And remember, upcoming, we have the practical hygiene lifestyle for bliss lecture coming up very soon at FractalU.com. And with that note, I think we want to say thank you very much to Patrick. And it was wonderful, Patrick. Patrick did serious homework for us. Thank you. In this recording, we hope reach the world. Anybody else have anything? Anybody else have anything want to say to Patrick? Thank you. Was a blessing.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick. It was great.
Thanks, Patrick.
It was really great, Patrick.
Okay. Blessing to everybody.
Stay soon. See you again.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Sweet dreams. Let's play with questions. Maybe that'll keep it.
Yes.
Okay. Is the Muse device directly needed, or is it capable to be used with just the iPhone sensors alone? So remember, with the iPhone camera, you can get some heart rate variability, but not too much. But
also related, it was designed with the old Apple iPhones, which has a single camera. Now the latest iPhone sometimes has three cameras inside. So it's becoming more and more difficult to use.
So bottom line is it's not very feasible to get heart rate variability pulse analysis with just the iPhone camera, where the finger clip or the ear clip or the chest strap
becomes more and more difficult, yes.
Yeah. But the chest strap can talk to both iThrive.com and FlameinMind. That's what Patrick is saying. But
Yeah.
anytime you want to measure brain waves, you're going to need to use headset as well. Could you hypothesize or confirm that with that stated to possibly induce headaches in that area of the head? I think Patrick has shown that he's limited the higher frequencies in the BLISS binaural beats, specifically because we want to be careful around tinnitus and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you have to be very careful. If you're very, very sensitive, you have to go step by step and not a very long session. And
I think the question also implied
you use a lower frequency, not too high frequency, but there are different options. Yeah.
But the other question, implication of that question was, would you ever get a headache in the back of your head?
When you activate it.
Yeah, when you activate it. In other words, if you're in the flow, could you get too back brain dominant?
Because yeah, sometimes when I'm doing that, I get a nasty headache.
Aha. When the back.
Yeah. What you can do is to breathe like explained in the beginning. So you start breathing in your aura, second chakra, and you go while breathing in, you move through your back up to the top of your head, and then you breathe out in your front, your face, and then you go to your chest, and then again to the aura, and then you start again. And if you do it around 0.1 hertz, it's much better again.
Okay.
But this make the energy turning inside your body. So when there is a fixed energy somewhere, it releases the energy there and send it in a battle equilibrium everywhere.
To circulate that 0.1 hertz breath combined with the circulation exactly 10 seconds.
But you have to visualize where is your breath turning on your back and on your chin.
And
so up on the back and going down through your head to your chest to your aura.
Traffic just in your head, basically.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a tantric rituals around that. That's beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Is it correct to describe the longitudinal array as a specific tide in the superfluid of space-time? Well, Patrick is talking about the tidal in the spine liquid pump, which are called the tidals in the sacrocranial. But a tide in the superfluid of space-time, the longitudinal array, remember, if you visualize simply the Dodecki-Kosa classic Earth grid from Becker and Huygens, those are the still points where the compression waves bounce in and out, and they have to do it in fractal array symmetry, the star mother dodeca, basically. And so those still points are where the longitudinal keeps exchanging information with transverse only, which is why you can prove that's where you get reduced nuclear critical mass, and you can prove that's where you get telepathy. So that's the longitudinal array, and it is a superfluid, that's for sure. Next question. How would a pacemaker affect those kinds of standing waves? Patrick, do you want to do that one? Sorry, I kind of took your job too far.
This question is related to the frequency that's bouncing back and forth between the heart and the first split.
Ah, yes.
The Banto chart, I guess.
So you are talking about an electric pacemaker?
Well, pacemaker, electric pacemaker reduces the heart's ability to choose its own frequency, unfortunately.
Yes.
And if you need one, well, you know, but it then by definition reduces variability, and therefore by definition reduces your own choice of how to emote, and reduces harmonic inclusiveness. So in for most of this conversation, sadly, a pacemaker is a disaster. I mean,
yeah, I think you should avoid to make this kind of practice if you have a pacemaker.
Yeah, well, pacemaker from spiritual evolution, emotional flexibility, heart rate variability, and lots of other things is a disaster, we're sorry to say. And so there's lots of exercises you can do to reduce your reliance on a pacemaker, and that is in the medical literature as well. Okay. Tufan, was there a separate question about the heart, about the Bentoffs bouncing back and forth to the...
that was related to Terry and Ellen's question about the pacemaker, whether that would affect the frequency of, that would affect the that specific frequency between the heart and the split.
Well, see, that's what Bentoff was saying, is if you're relaxed enough that the bounce off the aortic crotch of the phone onto the blood pulse came into phase with the heart, then your whole body became more efficient and began imploding, of course, ideally around Mayer wave 0.1 hertz. And so that's relaxation, and that's a natural entrainment process, which in general, I think would be pretty much impossible with a pacemaker, because the pacemaker pays no attention at all to what is the most natural relaxed resonance frequencies of the body. So again, pacemaker is a disaster. It's just in terms of spiritual evolution and also freedom to emote. Would a musician's flow state be different from that of an athlete's flow state? Patrick, you want to take that one?
About athletes' flow, I don't know. About musician, I can talk a little bit about. In fact, when you're playing music, and as I explained, it should be a little bit difficult, but not too much. And then at a time, you don't think about how to place your finger. Everything is, and
everything's instinctive
in a way. Yeah, and in a way, sometimes when you are creating music, it seems that you're connected to something, and
and very relaxed.
I'm wondering, am I creating or am I just a channel?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a very relaxed state, and probably rear brain dominant, and literally a flow state. So my hypothesis would be the musician's flow state and the athlete's flow state are relatively similar in that they're relaxed and they're rear brain dominant, and therefore the speed of impulse literally instinctive. It's all like body mediated. It's not front brain mediated, because that's not fast. Yeah. Patrick, earlier in your presentation, when you showed the misaligned chakras graph, they look to me like those in the book from Stefan Cardino. Are these graphs made with FlameinMind or the Life Vibration Analyzer, which I believe is no longer available? That's Tino asking.
Yeah, well, yes, unfortunately, the latest news that I got from Stefan was that it's not available anymore, but he is almost finalizing a new device that will do the same thing. And we made a few recording also with the LVA, the old LVA of Stefan. And well, it's almost the same kind of display as Korokov also. But what was interesting with Stefan device is that you can measure a group of persons.
Right.
Korokov, you have to take the footprint of everybody and make one person at a time. But with Stefan, all the people can put their hand on the device, yes. And you can measure a group before and after a meditating state or
very
something.
cool.
Like
But very cool. But the actual picture you showed of the chakras misaligned, was that Korotkov or Cardino?
No, it was the old GDV device.
It was the Korotkov device. That was Korotkov GDV, now called BioL. That's the chakra.
But it's the old one. It's now the BioL, you have to be connected to the web, to a cloud. The old device, you can use it anywhere.
Yeah, but that's another launch. They're claiming the upgraded version is closer to replicability, therefore, and medically potentially even useful in terms of scientific replicability. Okay, did we miss any questions, Tufan? How do we do?
There is one more from the beginning of the call. Mauro asks, are using sacred geometrical drawings such as the flower of life or dodecahedron, octahedron, polyhedron is focusing on these helpful in engaging frequencies, such as a frequency based on the complexity of the form focused upon?
You know, when they teach the Steiner school kids to visualize a rose, you know, and then they close their eyes and they make a rose inside. So clearly those visualizations are useful. And the difference between a hex and a pent visualization would be very significant in terms of golden ratio versus octave brainwaves. Obviously, hex visualizations should, you know, increase the octave harmonics, and pent visualizations should improve the golden ratio. So there should be a clear correlation there, actually. So if you're focused on a star mother and it's pent all over, then that should improve your golden ratio. Whereas you're focused on a tetracube like the flower of life, then that it should increase the octave harmonics. And obviously the octave harmonics are the crystallizing, literally ice cube of stability necessary upon which then you can build the golden ratio harmonics. You put the pent cube inside the pent, you put the cube inside the dodeca and you go from hex to pent. And the witch knew very well the difference between a hex and a pent, you know.